What up, Scrapyard? After playing the new split for the first week, I feel like I have an appropriate understanding of how you're supposed to play ranked this season in order to achieve the goals that you want to achieve for ranked this split. Here are some Season 14 Kings Canyon tips from a 15 times Apex Predator. Without further ado, let's get it. Bam ba bam bam bam. Bam ba bam 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 ba 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 bam bam ba bam bam. Kings Canyon, man. It's a doozy. People struggle with this map primarily because of the size of the map, which makes third parties way more common. Thankfully, they have made some changes to open and expand the map. If you want to know what changes exactly, go check my last video out. But even then, the third parties are brutal. And that's also because of a couple other changes. Let's get into that real quick before I give you guys some tips. If you guys didn't know, there were two major storm changes. The first one being, the first storm now closes in 60 seconds from the start of the game. This used to be 3 minutes, which gave you a lot of time to rotate and loot, and to even pick a couple of early round fights. Now that the storm closes in a lot quicker, you're going to find yourselves fighting way more often in storm, and you're also going to struggle a bit with your rotations, especially in the higher ranks. Hopefully it won't always be like that if people start to become adjusted to it, but I have a feeling that it's going to be an all season thing until they fix it. In addition to that change, they also increased the damage of round 1. Instead of the first ring ticking for 2 HP, it now ticks for 3 HP, which is what round 2 used to do and currently still does. So with an increase of storm damage of round 1, and with the storm closing in way quicker now in round 1, you may find yourself struggling a lot this way. Even the best of the best are still struggling to rotate. I think both of those changes together are unnecessary, either one or the other, so I hope they move forward with a change. The other change I wanted to address has to do with the KP system. Verbatim on the Apex Legends Season 14 patch notes. Pertaining to kill RP, they removed diminishing returns on eliminations. I believe last season, after you got a certain number of kills, you would then be rewarded less RP per kill after you've passed that threshold. Now they've gotten rid of that. Simply put, you're getting a lot more RP for kills. This incentivizes and rewards aggressive gameplay. So when you mix the storm changes with the RP changes, you're going to get a lot of third parties. So for my first tip, figure out a nice landing spot within the center of the map. It doesn't have to be directly in the center. I just wouldn't recommend you to land exactly on the outskirts on the edge of the map. If you do find yourself on the edge of the map, most of the time the ring is going to pull far away from you, which is going to stretch out your rotation. And again, with these storm changes, especially in higher ranked, you're going to find yourself in storm a lot of the time. So to avoid that, it's best to land somewhere in the center of the map. It makes for easier rotations. Personally, I've been landing cage almost exclusively now. It doesn't get contested too often, and it has decent to great loot, with a replicator maybe 50% of the time. I've also been landing market a lot as well. Again, those are just my preferences. And if you do continue landing on the outskirts of the map, you want to avoid fights as best as possible. All it takes is one fight on the edge of ring. Before you know it, you're deep in a storm with minimal heals. This is where a lot of people are dying right now. So don't make it so hard on yourself. On the contrary though, like I mentioned, you get a lot more RP based on your kills now. So if you and your team can figure out how to be aggressive, you should do exactly that. You are finally rewarded now for your kills. I'm getting plus 300, 400, 500 in Apex Pred lobbies for a win. This is how I'm able to climb the ranks so fast. And especially those of you that might be stuck in Diamond or any other rank for the rest of the split, you're only taking minus 40, minus 50, minus 60 for entry costs. You might as well do what you can and maximize your RP by being aggressive as possible. I'm not going to teach you guys how to be more aggressive, but I can give you a minor tip. The reason why third parties are so bad deep in the storm now is because if a team outside of storm hears a fight going on in storm, because of the storm changes, more often than not, those two teams fighting in storm are going to be severely weak. So pushing a fight and third partying a fight in storm is often an easy cleanup. But you have to be careful because people will gatekeep you hardcore this season. Gatekeeping meaning puppy guarding the zone. So far, be more aggressive and land on the interior of the map. My next tip will be regarding legend composition. The legends I think that you should use in order to gain more RP. Valkyrie. Even though she got majorly nerfed, because of the third parties and because of the storm changes, rotating on your feet is quite difficult. And Valkyrie's ultimate can still ease the difficulty that you might have with rotating. I personally don't use her, but that's because I'm so good at rotating. And even then, there's still some times where I wish I had a Valk. Next one is Seer. I mean, what more do I need to explain? Most lower skilled individuals lack IQ and game awareness. Seer gives you and your team that automatically for free, built into the game. So instead of focusing part of your efforts on your IQ and in-game awareness, you could have Seer do that for you, and you'll be able to focus more of your energy on just shooting your gun. Again, that's another crutch legend that I don't need to use, but there's a reason why many people use him. That essentially is free RP for you and your team. Obviously, you have the long-term favorites like Bangalore, Gibby, Pathfinder, etc. But what you're also going to see a lot this season is Newcastle. And I think he's highly effective this season after all of his buffs. So if you want a legend that can provide defense but have a little more movement, try out Newcastle and swap out Gibby. That may work for you and your team. All in all, as for every season, you'll want some sort of movement character like Horizon, which is being played a lot right now. Typically a defensive legend of your choice, Gibby, Castle, Rampart, Caustic, and then that third pick could be whatever you enjoy personally. That third slot is like a flex option. If you abide by those first 2 rules, then the third legend you play can honestly be anybody. For me, it's Loba. I know this may go without saying, but there are plenty of people out there who do their best to try to get the highest rank possible, and they struggle with that because they're running troll legends like Lifeline or Mirage, Fuse, whoever. At the end of the day, use who you're most comfortable with, but understand that this meta exists right now for a reason, and that meta being Castle, Seer, Horizon, Valkyrie, etc. Another tip I have to give you guys is be careful with the fights that you choose. It's always okay to initiate a fight, but if you cannot guarantee a knock within the first 30 seconds, maybe it's best to fall back, because you will be third party from every direction on this map. So stay tight with your teammates and communicate with them. And just like I've told you guys in the past, a tip that I can give you guys so that you're more aware of these third parties is when you do decide to initiate a fight and you guys are trading shots from a medium to long range distance, have one person look at your flank side every now and then. If there's no third party, maybe keep fighting. Obviously this doesn't prevent third parties, but being observant in scenarios like this, but doing this can help you win more of your fights and avoid more third parties. So make sure to always keep your head on a swivel. At the end of the day, the entry cost that exists right now is pretty much the same as last season, except this season you're getting way more RP per dub. So because of that larger difference right now, I would say that it's okay to take more fights and learn how to be more aggressive right now. The entry cost is relatively low compared to the amount that you win, so you don't even have to get first place to get a couple hundred RP. You can get about 8 kills in diamond lobbies or lower and die 5th place, and you're getting upwards of 100 to 200 RP for that. Always strive to win, but it's impossible to win every game. So if you can be more aggressive and get more kills, then you don't have to get super high placements every game to get a decent chunk of RP. So right now being aggressive is paying off, and this is how many rank grinders are gaining at an unprecedented rate. But Scrappy, they're doing it because they have a team and I solo queue. I understand that finding teammates can be difficult, but let's say you're forced to solo queue. You cannot complain about the ranked in the game or your teammates if you're solo queuing and not communicating with your team. Of course you can't always control your randoms, but if you're solo queuing and complaining about you not being able to gain RP and you're on mute the entire time, that is your fault. I don't want to hear any excuses from you. If you can find ways to effectively integrate these tips into your gameplay this split, you will find that it will pay off and you can reach any rank that you desire. The pred cap will be insanely high though, so if you're thinking about hitting Apex pred this season and you've never done it before, it might be a little difficult for you. But if your goal is to hit masters at least, it is very doable. Work on your rotations, work on picking smarter fights, stay away from the edge of the map, learn when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive, and you should have no problems this season. Best of luck, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bam ba bam bam bam. Bam ba bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam